A massive blaze at a labor housing facility in Kuwait has resulted in the death of over 49 individuals. Around 40 of these are Indians. The fire had broken out in a 7-story building in the Mangaf area of Kuwait City in the wee hours of dawn. The building housed over 195 workers aged between 20 and 50 years, most of whom hailed from Kerala. Fire tenders rushed to the spot as thick plumes of black smoke shrouded the entire building. Even as the fire was put out in under 10 minutes, most died due to asphyxiation. The victims could not go to the rooftop because the door was locked. In fact, a desperate resident jumped from the 5th floor to his demise. Those who survived have suffered severe burns and have been admitted to hospitals. The Indian government has taken swift action and reached out to Kuwaiti authorities. Prime Minister Modi has chaired a review meeting as well to take stock of the situation. In fact, MOS External Affairs Kirti Singh has reached Kuwait and has met with Kuwait's foreign minister. He's also met those who've been injured and inquired about their well-being. Kuwait's Emir has vowed to hold accountable those responsible. Additionally, Deputy Premier Fahad al-Yusuf has started inspection campaigns as well. Well, in fact, we do know that the questions, of course, arise on the conditions in which these Indians, of course, live in. And also, of course, there are questions about the safety norms there. In these buildings. The team in fact found inflammable materials as well there, and obviously several other questions are also now arising over the building norms being flouted. Let me quickly bring in our panel. Joining us at this point is Ambassador Bhashpati Mukherjee, former ambassador. We also have Revan D'Souza, editor, Kuwait Times, joining us live. Pathikrit Pine, international affairs expert, is live with us. Manju Seth, former ambassador, also joins the broadcast, as does Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian. Let me bring you in here first, Revan D'Souza, on what's the latest that you can share with us regarding this particular incident. It's shocked many, of course, in India. What are the numbers now of the death toll and the number of those injured? And has any action yet been taken against those responsible?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and good evening. And hello, Professor Nalapat. It's been a long time. Today is the second day. Yesterday was the tragic shock that we received news of death of many of our compatriots, and many people were shell-shocked by the massive scale, probably the second worst fire in the history of Kuwait. There was one many years ago where 57 died. But this one, that was a Kuwaiti tent, and this one was for Indians, a labor camp. The authorities have acted with swiftness, diligence, and complete professionalism. The bodies are almost ready, embalmed, and ready to be repatriated tonight itself, as soon as an Indian plane comes in to take them home, as per the request of the junior minister. Ex gratia payments are being announced by the company. In the first in the history of Kuwait, the Amir has announced a payment to every deceased person. The amount is not yet disclosed. It will be disclosed very soon. He's offered a plane to fly back the mortal remains, which the Indian government has, thanked them graciously. But we have our own plane coming in and taking them. Now, of course, the stock taking. This camp was one of the many camps, and this comes again to the limelight that conditions of expatriate foreign laborers. While the rules are very strict and the laws are very strict, the implementation is not so often followed as per the requirements. This is a real unfortunate mishap that should not have happened, and I would not say could have been avoided because it was it seems under preliminary investigation, but not yet confirmed, that it's a gas leak blast. So this is something that could have taken lives anyway. But having said that, the government is now woken up to the reality that they need to fix all violations. The owners of the company, which is an Indian and the main Kuwaiti, both are not in the country at this time. The owner of the building, who is the brother of the Kuwaiti owner of the company, has been arrested, or rather, I would say detained. There are some more people who are being detained. from the company for questioning. The company had maintained good records, so the paperwork has been completed. The embassy has been working day and night to ensure that all formalities are processed in the quickest possible way to take the bodies home. The injured are being looked after in many of the government hospitals, which are the best hospitals, in fact. So best care and treatment has been given. And as the whole country has been shocked, and I'm also receiving and seeing international leaders and very prominent people sending condolences to the Kuwaiti leadership, which has really become international headline. Hello.
Yes, absolutely. I know
yes.
you made a very important and valid point, Raven, and I would like to take that point across to Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee as well, who's also with us live. Ambassador Mukherjee, of course, you have been seeing the evolving situation there in Kuwait. Of course, our hearts do go out to the families of those who've lost their loved ones in this tragedy. What do you make, of course, of the diplomatic response from India, rushing our MOS there to oversee, the mortal remains coming back across to India, and also to make sure that the injured are being treated well? And now, what action would we expect from the Kuwaiti authorities as well? Because many are calling this perhaps a man-made tragedy.
Well, Uday, first of all, allow me to express my deepest condolences to the families of those who've lost their beloved ones, and to say that the present government, which has just got its third term, has always distinguished itself by reaching out to Indians in distress. They did it when the Ukraine conflict started. They've done it several times elsewhere, and therefore I find that their gesture to rush the newly sworn-in MEA to Kuwait and to ensure that he is there to give support to the Indian embassy and the ambassador, whose photographs also we saw that he was visiting the injured in jail, shows the kind of outreach that we have to our diaspora and to the Indian workers all spread out, particularly in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, etc. In this particular case, the host country has to take responsibility, because it would appear that there was inflammable material left in these premises, that there was no NOC for fire, there were no proper fire extinguishers, there was no proper fire escape. So I'm sure that the Kuwaiti authorities would look into this matter through an independent inquiry. But in the meantime, they have reached out also by providing an aircraft, as we heard from the previous panelist, to bring the bodies back, and then hopefully when the injured recover, to bring the injured back, which is a gesture which I'm sure India has appreciated officially. But definitely when you host foreign workers as host country, you have responsibility for their safety and security. They are there in very large numbers, and I'm sure the last thing that Kuwait would want is for a negative signal to go out to Indian workers waiting to go to the Gulf, that the conditions there are unsafe, because most of them, I'm told, who died in their sleep because they were asphyxiated by smoke. They had absolutely no chance to escape at all. And one died because he jumped out of the balcony rather than to be suffocated, and he also died. So it's a very great tragedy. The number of deaths is unexceptionally high. I'm told it's about 40. And it is certainly something which the Kuwaiti government, I'm sure, will look into, because it raises questions about the safety and security and the conditions in which Indian workers are housed in Kuwait, which actually is in contrast to the way they are housed, for example, as I know, in Dubai, in United Arab Emirates, etc. So this is something that will only come out through an investigation by the host country. Uday.
Okay, let me in fact take that across to Pathikrit Pine, who's also with us live. Pathikrit, clearly, of course, a tragedy. The proportions, of course, we don't see too often in the Middle East. But clearly, the last thing we would want is for further Indian workers' lives to be endangered, which is why accountability is important, that it's fixed. Pathikrit, what steps must be taken next?
Uday, let me tell you, it's a very tragic incident, and I'm very sad about it. But when you ask me what accountability should we seek and whether there will be an accountability or not, I smile in dejection because there will be no accountability. Okay, and that's the reality. So let's not expect anything will change in Middle East. Let's not expect that we can change anything over there. Let's not expect that people will stop going there. Because for many of these Middle Eastern countries, I respect the relation that we have with them. I respect the Ministry of External Affairs for all that they have done in terms of improving India's image in the last 10 years. I am a very big admirer of them. That is another issue. But when it comes to Middle Eastern countries and the working condition of people over there, it is a known fact. Which ambassador of India in which Middle Eastern country is not aware of it? Tell me. And what have they done? Can they do anything? I don't think. So for many of these Middle Eastern countries, you said it's a rare one. In 2021, there was a Guardian report that for the construction of the stadiums in Qatar, 6,500 migrant workers from India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka died. Which of these countries have done anything to seek accountability from Qatar? For many of these Middle Eastern countries, Uday, they know that most of these workers, I'm very sorry to say this because they are my country's people, they know they are all dispensable. They know that even if they die, somebody else will come and replace them. This is the reality. So, if we are expecting that there will be accountability, suppose if there is a person of Kuwaiti origin, who is linked to the organization, which is responsible for whatever has happened, we should forget accountability in that case. If it is an Indian company, then you can seek accountability. If it is an Indian over there who is responsible for it, you must see a lot of punishment being given. But if it is somebody from Kuwait, a Kuwaiti passport holder, what accountability? They are above all accountabilities. Qatar held that World Cup. Where was United Nations asking for accountability about the 6,500 migrant workers dying? Which country said that this is a sheer human rights violation? Let's boycott Qatar. And let me also say, did we say that? Did even India say that? Did any of the South Asian countries say that? No. So you ask me, Uday, the tragedy is this. The tragedy is not just what happened. The tragedy is, few days later, we will forget it. And there will be another accident tragedy somewhere else. This is something like 40 people died. So it became a news. Every day somebody is dying. It doesn't become a news over there. Because I reiterate, and I'm sorry to say this, because for them, we are dispensable. Because for them, even if people die, there will be somebody else willing to come in and replace them. So I don't see anything changes unless we become a far bigger economy, unless people believe that it is far better to stay back in India and work even if you earn a little less. Because in Kuwait or in any other countries, I'm not specifically pointing fingers at Kuwait. It is a known fact that the conditions are deplorable. It is a known fact that, you don't have any rights over there. You just work there. Forget about human rights. You have no right. You are just there. Your passport is taken over. What right are we talking about? What accountability? Nothing. They are above all the basic, things that are to be taken care of as per UN charters. So they are above that. And I would not be surprised if many of these countries would eventually every year would have somebody from their country in the human rights bodies of United Nations also, and also on, labor safety as well, or ILO group, members. So this is the reality, and let's face it, it is tragic. I hope due compensations are given to the families who have lost their loved dear ones. And my heart beats for all those people, especially from that beautiful state of Kerala, from where so many people have lost their lives. I hope their families are taken care of. That is all that we can, hope today. Rest, If you ask me, I might sound politically incorrect, I might sound controversial, but I have zero hope for any kind of accountability. Neither we expect them to give accountability, nor I expect anybody to seek accountability. At most, you would see some request being made, nothing more. Sorry for this. Uday, back to you.
I think Raven D'Souza may want to respond to you since he's in Kuwait. Yes, Raven.
This is one extreme point of view. That's not entirely true. We are 1 million working here and living here. There are Indians living here from 60 years, 50, 40, 10, 20. We are living here by choice, not by force. Yes, the laborers are victims everywhere. They are victims in India, they are victims in America, they are victims in Europe. So to say and blame the Middle East and particularly the Gulf is not very true. They are all coming here for a job. Some employers anywhere in the world cross the line. They may, be, as Pratik said, a bit greedy. And the problem here is a little bit of, of the line. But it's not true that Kuwaitis are above the law in every way. It's not true that we are not living here like third class or fourth class citizens. We have equal rights and respect. We are not totally familiar with the language. We have a language barrier. But obviously, there are Indians who are all. The owner of this company is a very, very, very rich man. He has invested millions into India. He has done well for himself. He has come here as a worker. And he has grown through the natural process of business and entrepreneurship. So to say and generalize, not true. Number two is we are living in a Kuwait which is a little bit slower than the other Gulf states in transformation. And with the new government, which you all are aware, they are taking violations seriously. They have Parliament has been suspended recently because we had a democracy which was impeding a lot of things according to the leadership, and now things have started moving. I'm sure there will be accountability. There cannot be, this cannot go unaccounted for. In fact, the last lady who was responsible, Kuwaiti, who killed 57 people and 90 injured by burning her tent, she was sentenced to death. So this is a mishap that could be happening, not purely because of malintention, but yes, there are many. I mean, if you look at it, natural calamity can happen. This was, of course, as Ambassador Mukherjee said, this is man-made. And it could have been probably lessened, maybe not completely avoided, because in summer, let me tell you, the temperatures here, we have fires regularly during the month of June, July, August. Fires happen, the temperatures cross 50 and above. It's not yet peaked. In the month of July, it will peak. Fires, old electrical equipment, heavy loads do create small fires, and there are what you say, people do get affected by this. This was the largest, and it was really massive. And let me tell you again, this was one of the better. There are camps which are of very poor standard, and it's like we accept, many of the laborers accept it. They're comfortable, or they don't complain, and they go on vacation, they come back. So they have a choice, but that doesn't mean
Mr.
that.
Mr. D'Souza, with all due respect to you, I don't want to get into one-on-one debate in this, but when you say they don't...
No, please. I don't want to have any sort of back and forth on this issue. This is a very sensitive issue. No, this is a sensitive issue, and I won't allow back and forth on this issue, please. You both had your points of view, and we have to respect each other's points of view. I don't want a back and forth on this issue, at least. Let me go across to Manju Seth, former ambassador, who's also joining us live. Manju Seth is also on the broadcast with us. I will come back. I'll come back to both of you, and you can, of course, have your responses as well. But let me quickly get in Manju Seth at this point. I think Bashpati Mukherjee also wants to come in. I'll allow her also her point of view. But Manju Seth, let me quickly bring you in on the aspect, of course, of the Indian workers' lives at risk. Of course, our ME has been extremely proactive with sending the Minister of State there on ground. He's, of course, met with the injured already. He's also been fast-tracking the identification through DNA samples of those deceased so that their mortal remains can be sent back home to India. I believe a plane has also already been rushed to Kuwait from India. Manju Seth, so far, of course, India-Kuwait cooperation, do you believe going well in the fallout, in the aftermath of this incident? And what do you make of, the series of events that caused this in the first place?
The thing is that this is a very sad incident and which has affected so many people. It was an accident, but the full details, I think it appears to be an accident, but the full details will come only after the inquiry is done. I think the inquiry is ongoing, and it is, and the Kuwaiti authorities, the plus point is the Kuwaiti authorities have really moved very quickly. And it is also a reflection of the good relationship that we have, and also that so many Indian diaspora workers, laborers are there. They say the total Indian diaspora is about 1 million, and workers are about 60%. So out of them, I think for that, India, needs to, ensure that or at least convey to the Kuwaitis that the living conditions should be made better. We do know that most employers in the Gulf and including in Kuwait cut corners, and therefore these kind of safety issues are neglected. There should have been a fire escape. There should have been fire extinguishers easily available, and they were all sleeping. But still, some kind of immediate action, I think, might have prevented so many people from dying. And bilateral relations, of course, have always been very good. And our minister is there, and he is on the ground to see that the operations go smoothly, and their ministers as well, and their senior officials and ministers and their senior people in authority are there coordinating on the ground. I think that is a very positive development. But of course, the Kuwaiti authorities, of course, appreciate that the contribution of Indians and the diaspora. But as mentioned by previous panelists also, there's not too much that authorities are able to do to enforce all what we request or what we would like for all the migrant workers for them.
Yes, Ambassador Mukherjee has a quick response, and then I'll get in Professor Nalapat as well. He's been waiting patiently.
I would like to thank you very much, Uday, and I would like to point out to Mr. D'Souza that what I cannot accept in his comments, and I do appreciate that he lives in Kuwait, is he said that these workers, they may be living in conditions which are not comfortable, but they go on holiday, they come back, etc. I would like to point out to Mr. D'Souza that I have just written a best-selling book on indentured labor, where 1.5 million people were treated like slaves when they were taken to far-off destinations which now form part of our diaspora, and they were subjected to inhuman conditions and they had no option. It could be that due to poverty, you have Indian workers who are forced to live in these inhuman conditions, but as Indians, we cannot possibly say on national television that this is acceptable to Indians here in India. We cannot accept it. I cannot accept it. If their conditions are inhuman in such a rich country, then it behoves the host country to do something about it. And
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, the onus clearly lies on Kuwait on that front. 30 seconds to you, Pathikrit, before I go to Professor Nalapat as well. Yes, 30 seconds. Pathikrit, your response.
Rishabh, Uday, I just wanted to say the same thing what Ambassador Mukherjee said. I never said primarily only Kuwait. It's the whole Middle Eastern culture is like that. And it's again, Revan sir, I respect you for what you said, but we were primarily talking about the labor class. It's about the way the labor class is treated. I mean, I do not think you fall into that category. That particular category has always been used as a dispensable commodity. So, it's a tragedy. Either we forget it or presuming it's a tragedy, or else we do introspection. And if we do introspection, then we have to say certain harsh things.
No, absolutely. Introspection is needed to ensure that this doesn't happen to any other Indians in the future as well. Revan D'Souza.
No, see, this is a labor issue. Labor camps exist, but it's not so. The violation or it's not across the board. And I am sorry. Let me just retort to Ambassador Mukherjee, indentured labor, that was once upon a time. And if you are going to classify this into that, then we are not getting anywhere. Let's just ban our labor from leaving the country. But you know that we accept it, they accept it. There are guidelines. The Indian Embassy and the government of Kuwait is always working. There are violations because the numbers are huge in terms of other nationalities. So we are 1 million. There are non-payment of salaries. We have domestic labor abuse. We have so many other abuses, and the percentage is. And every time they're checking into it. Labor camps has been an issue that we have been discussing this because they are staying on the fringe of the oil city. This company was doing well.
No, but surely that's something that the authorities then need to act on then. If they are aware of the issue and they're still not acting, that's not acceptable. Professor Nalapat, come in here. Professor Madhav Nalapat, come in here. He's not said a word. Let's allow him as well, his view. Professor Madhav Nalapat, come in here. Absolutely. You can, of course, respond to some of the viewpoints expressed by the previous speakers, Professor Nalapat. But what's your take on what do you believe caused this tragedy in the first place? Is this reflective of the situation, the condition in which our labor is living there in a lot of the Middle East? What can be done about this as well?
First of all, I'd like to say that, well, let's not single out just the Middle East. You have problems with labor across the board, across the world, and not just labor that's coming from other countries, but local labor as well. So that's the first point. Second point is, I would like to point out that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has exceptionally good relations with the GCC amirs. Exceptionally good relations. You saw the warm welcome he received in Abu Dhabi, and he will get a similarly warm welcome wherever he goes in the Middle East. And that is where the MEA has come forward, stepped forward, sent a minister, and the minister is, I'm sure, working extremely hard to ensure that, yes, accountability, and very importantly at the moment, that those who are injured are treated properly. And secondly, the great tragedy, those who have passed are brought back with dignity to where they come from. I think it's important to understand, Uday, that there are several million Indians working in that region, several million. And the relationship between India and that region is very, very close. The relationship between Indians and people in Kuwait is also very close. So I just want to make that point clear. Secondly, what has happened is obviously what not to have happened. There has to be some responsibility fixed for this. Was it a gas leak? Who was having gas? I mean, was somebody cooking in a room when this happened? If the roof was locked, why was it locked? If there was no fire escape, why was there no fire escape? Certainly, answers need to be found for this, and certainly those who are accountable, whichever nationality they belong to, should be held accountable. There's no question about that, and I am very certain that given the importance that is there between Kuwait and its relationship with India, I'm certain that there will be a very strong action taken. But as you correctly said, those responsible should be held accountable. In that sense, I hope Patikat is wrong when he says there'll be no accountability. In my view, there will be an investigation, and at the end, there will be full accountability.
Okay. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.